there, it's Sadie. I've been wanting to make this video for a couple days. It is pouring down rain. It's October 11th when I'm filming this. This is probably going to be a part 2 because there's a lot that I want to talk about, but I don't know that I'm going to have all the time to get it all out in this video. First, just wanted to say, for everyone who's been saying prayers, for everybody in Florida, thank you. I truly believe in the power of prayer, as you know, and prayer works. And the storm could have been a lot worse for all of us, but because everybody was praying, sending their positive vibes, sending their positive energy, surrounding us in white light, surrounding us in love, like minimal damage, you know, it was a good thing. So thank you so much for all your prayers. But this is going to be a video in that series of the dark truths of spirituality, spiritual awakening. This is a video about intuition, all right? I'm going to get into topics like intuition versus the ego, and other things, but let's just talk about intuition for a minute, okay? Intuition is really, it's your sixth sense. It's your first sense, as far as I'm concerned, because everybody is born innately intuitive. Whether you believe that or not, doesn't matter your religion, doesn't matter your spiritual beliefs or spiritual practices. We all have what I like to call an inner GPS, which is our inner God protection system. It's our inner voice. It's our inner knowing. Intuition comes in different forms. So there's claircognizance, which is clear knowing. You just get thoughts, downloads, ideas. You just know things, okay? There's clairvoyance, which is like an open third eye. Also, clairvoyance is like seeing visions, remote viewing, seeing images, having prophetic dreams. That's clairvoyance as well. There's claircognizance, which I talked about. I'm a little disoriented because I'm still like post-hurricane, like anxiety and stress. And yesterday I wasn't on because I just needed a day to decompress and I was very busy yesterday anyways. There's clairsentience, which is clear feeling, okay? That is like gut feelings. That is, you know, when you're highly empathic, you really feel psychic energy. You can feel other people's feelings. You can feel when the energy shifted. And then there's clairaudience, which is clear hearing. You get audible messages. There's also clairgustance, which is like you can taste certain things. So I'll give you an example of this. When I was in my Reiki class, one of the people in the class with me when I was doing my Reiki mastership, she said, and she was already a master, but she was like doing sort of like, it's always good to get like an attunement every once in a while. So she was doing her attunement. And she said one of the things that Reiki really helped her with was her clairgustance, where she could like taste certain things. So when she was doing Reiki, she would be able to kind of like, even though she was not a medical practitioner, she could kind of diagnose certain things in her clients and just give them advice like, hey, you might want to go see the doctor about this because of certain things. So there was a woman who was having trouble sleeping and was going to Reiki to like relax. And this woman that I was in the class with was like, all I could taste every time I did Reiki sessions with her was coffee. So I started asking her, I'm like, are you drinking a lot of caffeine? Are you drinking a lot of coffee? And the woman was like, yeah, I drink coffee all throughout the day and I have a very stressful job. And so it drains my energy and I'm drinking coffee. And she's like, you know, you really need to slow down on the caffeine. That's why you're not getting sleep. And she guided her to go to the doctor and stuff like that. And they did some tests and they were like, yeah, you got to cut the caffeine. So clairgustance, when you can actually taste things, you know, sometimes we get like what I call psychic memory of, you know, like grandma's apple pie or a certain time and place where you can smell things too. Clairgustance is clear smelling, clear taste. It's like you can smell certain scents. Like that happens a lot in mediumship where you might smell someone's perfume and know that they're like around, or some the cologne that someone, or if someone had a signature scent and they've passed on, like you can tell their energies around you because you can smell them around you. There's other clairs. There's a lot of other clairs, but those are like the main ones that come through. Everybody has an intuition, but it works slightly differently with everyone. So that's kind of one of the first things I wanted to talk about in this video is we all kind of have some people, all the clairs are firing 100% all the time. Like they're very attuned to all of their psychic energy and all of their psychic gifts. And then other people have dominant clairs. So my dominant clairs would be my clairsentience, which is clear feeling. I can just feel energy. I feel other people. I feel the room. I can read the room by feeling everything. And clairvoyance. So I see images, I remote view. Sometimes I can't control the remote viewing, but I can remote view. I get prophetic dreams, etc. But as you start to increase your spiritual gifts and start to use your spiritual gifts more, because it's kind of like a muscle, like if you go to the gym and you start working out, you start building those muscles. So the more that you use them, the more that you build them, which also helps to increase your other clairs. And so even if you might have, say you audibly hear messages, that's the psychic information that you receive, you can still build your other clairs to be very, very strong. Because as I'm getting older and as I'm, developing more of my gifts, my clairaudience is getting stronger. Also, my claircognizance is getting stronger. Sometimes I'll just know things, or I get downloads, or I get, thoughts in my head, and I just know that that's the information that I needed to receive. And so one of the things my guides told me about this is that everyone has the clair. So whether they're all the clairs or one clair that's dominant or two clairs that's dominant, everyone has the psychic gift or the psychic energy that is most comfortable for them to receive the messages. So this is something that they're always saying to me too, is energy is resonant. What you're resonant with, what you are vibrationally matched to, is kind of like what you'll receive. And so this is why oftentimes, especially people who watch a lot of readings, go to a lot of readers, really work with the spiritual arts, sometimes different readers will pick up different things. It's not that the reader is wrong. It's that they're receiving the transmission of information that's coming to them, and they're interpreting it through their lens, which is the energy and the vibration that they are most aligned to and they're most comfortable with. The way my guides explain this to me is, say you have, I'm going to use an example. Okay. So here's the 6 of coins as a tarot card. It was just the first thing that I saw right there. Every psychic that you go to, every reader might interpret something different from this card. So say you're asking a question about abundance. There could be one psychic who reads this as, you're going to win a lawsuit and that's going to bring you a lot of money. You could have another psychic who sees, oh, someone's going to give you a gift. You could have another psychic who says, if you ask for what you need, you're going to receive it in abundance. You could have another psychic who sees, I see a man with a red jacket and a red hat giving you some money. Every single one of those interpretations was accurate depending on your point of view of what's happening in this scene. And so the reason why I want to bring this through in this video, and excuse the background noise, I just turned on the AC, but I also had the windshield wipers going because it's raining, is because when you're working with intuition, intuitive messages, readings. You always have to use your discernment as to which part of the information is for you and applies to you. This is why so many readers say, take it as it resonates. If it doesn't resonate, leave it, behind, which is true, because one size does not fit all. And because it doesn't mean the reader or the psychic was inaccurate in their interpretation, but they're seeing it and filtering it through their lens of perception, through their lens of experience, through their own psychic gifts, through their own psychic channels. So when you're receiving a message, it is so important for you to use your discernment to make sure that what you're receiving is, number one, meant for you, but equally to make sure that what you're receiving is accurate for your situation. So if you're not in a lawsuit and you're asking a question about money, that image, that message, 1111 as I'm saying that, may not be in alignment with your current situation. However, it doesn't mean it can't be a future event that takes place that brings you money, which is also accurate. And it's the next part of this that I'm going to get into. But what could be more accurate for you is that someone's going to give you money. You're going to receive a gift of unexpected money. Okay. So understand that you have to use your discernment always to filter it in through your own lenses, your own resonance, your own vibration. Okay. Your own psychic channels. Here's the other thing about psychic readings and psychic energy and intuition is that messages that we receive are timeless and non-linear, meaning it's not in a straight line. You could go to a psychic who says you're going to win a lawsuit and you're like, I don't know what the hell this lady's talking about. I'm not in a lawsuit. And then a month later, get into a car accident and win a lawsuit, and a year or two later, receive a lot of money. She wasn't wrong in what she saw. She just, again, saw it from her view, from her lens, and it may not have applied to you in that moment, but it may apply to you in the future, vice versa. There's many psychics who are very good at picking up on, I'm terrible with timing, okay? I always say that because the way I receive the information is, it feels like now, unless I get like a remote view of like an image from the past. Usually sometimes I will get like childhood images or images from the past, and then I know it's a past reading. But everything else, whether it's going to happen now or like 5 years from now, just seems to come in now. So the way it looks, the way it feels is that I'm interpreting it as now, and then whenever it happens, that's when it's divinely timed and divinely guided to happen. But the other thing about messages, even when you're starting to develop your intuition, is that's why so many people say let go of timing, because you could be accurately receiving a message about something that you want, an outcome that you want, but the timing may not be for years. I've done readings for people where they've come back to me a year later and say, okay, what you said is now happening. What you were talking about in the reading, it's finally coming to pass. It's finally manifesting for me. I've done other readings for people and they said a month later, everything you said that was going to take place, it came in. So understand, when you're really working with your intuition, if you're getting readings, if you're watching readings on YouTube, TikTok, wherever, that it doesn't necessarily mean that the reading's not for you if it's not happening. It just means that there's a divine time at play. And because intuition, psychic energy is a psychic channel, it doesn't work in the same timing system that we have in this like society, in this world. We have a Gregorian calendar. We have a timing system that, it's seconds and minutes and seconds and hours and all that stuff and months and years. But that's not how time works. Time is a cycle. It is not a straight line. It's more of a cyclical. And so there's cycles of times. That's why it's like, if you look at places that have seasons, that's a more accurate natural timing cycle, where there's a season of abundance with the harvest, right? And then there's a season of winter where things start to die off, things start to be barren a little bit. And then after that season ends, there's a season of spring where there's new growth and new life. And then there's a season of, light where you got the summer. So if you can let go of timing in your intuition and the messages that you're seeing or receiving, it's going to be easier to trust your intuition. So part of the reason why I wanted to do this video is because I get a lot of messages and I speak to a lot of people who say, I doubt my intuition. I don't trust my intuition. Your intuition, like I said, you have it. Whether you've fully developed it or not, you have it. It is a superpower. It is your God protection system. It is your inner GPS. When you are aligned to that inner self, that inner voice, and always listening to it, you're always going to have a safe landing. You're always going to have a safe harbor. Things are always going to work out for you. You'll see that even through obstacles and challenges, you'll receive everything that you need. And we're coming into a time where it's going to be so important to listen. I mean, it is now, but even more of what's going to go on in the world, what's taking place, what's going to happen. It's going to be so important to listen to your intuition and listen to your discernment and your inner voice, because part of the age of Aquarius that we're moving into is the age of sovereignty, the age of mastery. You are your own sovereign. The age of the guru is gone, all right? The age of looking to other people and putting them on a pedestal, whether it is religion, whether it is YouTube, whatever it is, the media, that's going to start to decline. And so it's going to be very, very important for you to trust yourself and the images and the vibration and the energy that you're picking up on, because we're all going to become more spiritually attuned and get more spiritually sensitive. And so it's just very, very important for you to trust that, trust yourself. The other thing about intuition, because it's non-linear and timeless, there are situations where it's not going to make sense, where you're going to be guided to leave your 6-figure job and you're not going to understand why you're feeling that way. Or you're going to be guided to leave a relationship or move to a place that you've never lived before, sell all your stuff and go across the world. And it's not going to make any logical sense to you why you're feeling that, why you're picking up these signs, why you're picking up these synchronicities. What you have to understand about intuition, it's your connection to source. It's your connection to your higher self. And the thing that people don't really talk about they talk about it, but I think it needs to be emphasized, is that we are both spiritual and human, all right? You are a spiritual being having a human experience, but you're meant to have a human experience and go through the journey of the human experience when you come into a physical life, when you come into a physical incarnation on this earth skull, right? But you asked to go through certain things. So even though we have free will, there's also kind of things that are fated. This is what I like to refer to as like soul contracts and things that like are meant to happen on your path so that you can self-actualize and become that self-mastery, become your sovereign self, become your highest spiritual embodiment in human form. And oftentimes, so this is where that timing system comes in. Because of our ego, because of our personality, because of society, because of our programming, we'll get conditioned to believe we're supposed to go this way in life. And then we start feeling unfulfilled with it. We start feeling unhappy with it. We start questioning, like, I have this money and I have this relationship and I have all these things, and yet I'm unhappy. I'm unfulfilled. I don't feel like I'm doing what I'm meant to do in my life. Those are key signs that, like, your spirit is evolving and wanting to step up and wanting to come to the forefront. And during those times, that's when we usually have catalyst moments, tower moments, things that put us in our spiritual awakening path. And that's like a natural timing system. Again, there's different timing systems. Because it's like your soul is saying, okay, I'm ready for the next step of my evolution. And because of that, you're going to get intuitive messages, intuitive nudges, intuitive knowings that are not going to make logical sense to you, that may be contradictory to your own personal belief systems, that could be triggering and challenging to you. Why I wanted to bring this video through is because if you just start to listen to them, you don't have to go through the massive towers. Like, we're all going to have to go through experiences that are transformative and that help us to change and grow. And often those experiences can be challenging, okay? But you can minimize, you really can. The higher the vibration, the more alignment that you're in with your soul and your truth, the higher the outcome. And so you can minimize like massive towers, massive like upheaval in a lot of ways by just listening to those intuitive nudges, even when it doesn't make sense. Sometimes intuition, and I heard someone say this once, and I truly believe it, especially when we're being divinely guided in a new direction, right? It's kind of like a knock on the door. And we, the ego, the mind, can hear the knock, but often will be like, I don't want to get the door. We're going to ignore. And then the knock gets louder. And we're still kind of like, I don't want to get the door. And the knock gets louder, and the knock gets louder. And then eventually the universe comes and kicks down the door and burns the house down because you weren't listening. Okay, so you can avoid the bad part, the worst part of it, if you just open the door and listen to the call, okay? So it's not always going to make sense. It's not always going to make you comfortable. Sometimes your intuition is going to make you very uncomfortable because you're going to know things and you're going to see things that you didn't realize that you would know or see. That's often true about people and relationships and situations. You're going to see the truth of it, not what you want to see. And that can be a very, very hard part of intuition, is seeing the truth of something and not what you want to see, or not seeing it as you thought it was, but seeing it for what it truly is, can be very difficult, can be very challenging, can be very triggering. And so with that gift of intuition comes a sort of responsibility with that gift as well. I think it was said in Superman, with great power comes great responsibility. And that's true. It's a superpower. Your inner voice, your inner guidance, because God and your higher self and your guides and guardians, they can see the full picture. You're only seeing your lens, one point of view. They can see everything. They can see what's going to happen before this, what would happen before this, what's going to happen after this. They can see the full view. You're only seeing through your lens, which is a limited perspective. Okay. And so when you're truly tapped in and tuned into your intuition, spirit sometimes will guide you in a way that does not make sense and can be very challenging or can be very triggering, but it's often to protect you from something worse or something that you couldn't see was going to be coming on the horizon. And so it's like that divine redirection, which happens a lot once you start working with your intuitive gifts, once you start working a lot with your psychic gifts. There are detours. It is not a straight line. It is not a straight path. There are detours. And sometimes those detours, even when you're guided to do something and it detours, is because energy shifted and God and your guides could see that, oh, this is not going to be for your highest good, or this is not in alignment with your authentic self or your authentic truth or the path that you chose for yourself and the best path for you. And so we're going to redirect you. That happens a lot. It doesn't mean not to trust your intuition. It means that everything is energy and energy changes. It's living. Consciousness is living. Energy is living. Even these tarot cards, you know, people can say they're an inanimate object, and what gives them power is the reader. But my point of view, my perspective of it is, whoever made these, you have an energetic imprint from who made them, who created them. You have an energetic imprint of consciousness from the printing company that was used, from the tree that was broken down to make this card. And so every part of this is a living thing. It's a living energy. Yes, the reader does interpret things in a certain way. The Lovers is on the bottom. You know, the reader can interpret this in many, many different ways, in millions of different ways, billions of different ways, because everybody sees through their own lens and their own point of view. And everybody opens up to their psychic channels slightly differently. One size does not fit all. Another thing my guides are always saying. But there's still a core frequency and vibration just to the cards themselves, to everything. And so when you can understand that, you understand that you're living in a living world. And as you're living in a living world, energy fluctuates. Change is the only constant. Things are constantly changing. And so in the moment that you received a message, it could be 1000% accurate for you. And then 2 months later, because the energy changed, it's time to change things up. And so understand that just because an outcome changes, energy changes, doesn't mean that you got it wrong or that the reading was wrong. It just means sometimes that energy changes. And so intuition is fluid. It's flexible. It's not fixed. Just like time is not fixed, it's cyclical. Intuition is fluid, flexible. It's living. It's growing. It's evolving. And so as you begin to work with it more, and as you're opening up your psychic channels, and as you're opening up psychic gifts, and you're being drawn to more psychic information, understand you're going to have to learn to, that's why discernment's so important. Filter it through your lens. Does it feel right for you? Does it feel accurate for you? Does it resonate with you? Filter it also through your ego. Am I aligning to this message because it's the message and the outcome that I want to hear, or is it the most accurate for me at this time? It's very important, because a lot of times we will get upset. I've done this myself as well, where I've gotten a message, I've gotten an image, and I was like, okay, this is going to happen, and I'm super excited for it. And then, you know, things went left field. Things didn't take place. Things didn't happen. And I'm like, what the hell happened, God? What angels, guides, what the fuck? Sorry, excuse my language. But sometimes I get pissed at them. And I'm like, this is not supposed to happen. It was supposed to happen this way. And they're like, no, the energy changed and it's happening the best way for you, because we can see that the things that you can't see out of the situation. And I like, okay, all right. I kick and scream for a little bit, and then I'm like, okay. I accept that. And so the reason why I'm saying that, though, is like, it didn't mean for you to doubt yourself or doubt your intuition. Here's the other part about intuition that they're not going to tell you. because intuition is this fluid thing. It's non-linear. It's energy. It's living. Your intuition can be influenced and infiltrated by other things. Sometimes, and usually, it's our ego. Like I mentioned before, our ego wants a certain outcome, and so we think every reading about union happening right now is for us, when it may not necessarily be, and that's okay. Your intuition wants to be a millionaire, and so you keep getting readings that you're going to win the lottery, and you become a millionaire in 5 years, but it wasn't because you won the lottery. Again, but not just from the ego, because the ego is the personality. The ego is a collection of thoughts and belief systems and everything that we've learned and acquired to this point. It's the mask of the personality that we share with the world. You have an authentic self, you have a local self, which is your personality, which is your ego, and then you have a non-local self, which is your spirit. The spirit is the observer. The ego is like, kind of like the toddler, are we there yet? I'm thirsty, I'm hungry, I want a toy, I want to play, blah, 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 blah. That's the ego. And so part of infiltration of the intuition and where the intuition can get skewed is if you cannot discern what is the voice of your intuition versus what is the voice of your ego. Your intuition is never going to bring you harm or want you to cause harm to others. That's not intuitive guidance, number one. Number two, unless you are in imminent danger, like life-threatening danger, your intuition is usually kind of quiet. It's still, it's not so insistent. It might be telling you, hey, you need to go to this place. Hey, you need to sign up for this class. It'll tell you frequently, but it's not like the voice of the ego that's like, you got to do this now. You got to do this now. Again, because it's not necessarily a timeless thing. It's not necessarily, it's a fluid energy. It's a living energy, unless, and that's how my intuition works, unless I'm like absolutely in danger. It's usually just kind of quiet. It's usually just kind of calm. It's not like an anxious energy. Again, unless I'm in danger, or I don't get audible messages unless I'm in imminent danger and I need to leave something or go now. That's usually how it comes for me. Again, it's going to be different for everybody, so you got to use your own discernment. But intuition typically is not loud. The ego is very loud. The ego is wanting to text that person back. That's how you know it's the ego. Because your intuition, if someone's not reaching out to you, your intuition, unless you start getting a ton of messages like, oh, you need to contact this person, you need to contact this person, their name starts coming up, But oftentimes when you're in that space where you're like, oh, I wish this person would contact me, or I want to know what this person's doing, that's your ego telling you to text them back. That's your ego telling you to send that email. It is not your intuition. All right. I always vet my intuitive messages as well. So I'll sit with my guides, I'll sit with spirit and say, give me clarity that I'm meant to reach out to someone. Give me clarity that this is for my best and highest good. Give me clarity that, I'm meant to connect with this person. And then I'll get an intuitive message that I know, okay, I can reach out. I can say something. I'll give you an example of this. And this is why I say it can be infiltrated. It's because everything is energy. Thoughts are living things. Thoughts become things. Thoughts are living things. They are a vibration. That's why they're often called thought forms. Emotions are living things too. Emotions are energy in motion. I had someone that I hadn't into for about a year. No, beginning of this year is when I stopped speaking to them. And I started thinking about them this week. I was like, I don't want to reach out to this person. Things didn't end on the best note. And I got something in the mail from them, like the day after I started thinking about them. And so I asked my guides, should I reach out? And they said, yeah, see what's going on. And so I just did like a very like short and sweet message. I sent it via email. I got a response. They talked about something that's going on with them. I sent a response. It was short and sweet, but that was kind of like, but then I started feeling like, ooh, this person's trying to pull me back in. They're trying to fish for information. And so that's where I kind of cut it off, right? So your intuition will show you if something just needs to be short and sweet, if you need to cut it off, if there's something that you actually need to engage with more. Your intuition will show you those things. But here's where things get infiltrated, okay? If someone's thinking about you a lot, if someone's manifesting you, if someone's in your energy field because they want something from you, you're going to start getting signs and synchronicities, kind of like I was getting earlier this week before I got that letter in the mail. They just popped into my awareness and I was like, this is interesting because I'm not thinking about this situation or this person. I haven't spoken to them since the end of last year, the beginning of this year. Like, I'm good. So sometimes we can misinterpret our intuition because someone or something is in our energy field. This doesn't just work with people. This works with entities as well. There's a lot of entities in the psychic sphere. You know, sometimes this is often a term referred to as false light that can infiltrate, where we can get messages, where we can get, guidance. And we think that it's our intuition when it's not. And so again, really use your discernment. Does it make you feel comfortable? Is it a critical voice or a critical tone? So oftentimes you can tell the ego too by the ego is like the critic, the inner critic, the inner complainer. Are we there yet? What's happening? Why don't we have this yet? That's the voice of the ego, right? The infiltration that happens, especially through entities, is sometimes it can feel like a love bomb. Like, you're brilliant. You're the chosen one. You're the only one. Like, if you're getting messages like that, number one, we're all chosen. We're all God's children. Do we all have different life paths and different vibrations? And did we all come to earth to learn different things? Yes. But if you're getting messages where it's like, only you can save them. You're the chosen. You're the Messiah. Because I'm hearing this a lot in spiritual communities, and it's like, ooh, thin line. Gotta be careful. That can often be a signal, because it's kind of like love bombing, in a relationship where you meet someone and they're just like, you're the best. We love you. I love you so much. And I want to marry you. And I see this future with you. And you literally just met them like a week ago and you've gone on one date and it was a good date. But then they're like, we should move in together. We should buy a house together. They're making all these future plans, and you're like, dude, we just met. Like, I don't understand. I know I'm great, but I'm not that great. I mean, everybody's got their things, right? It can feel like that, which feels really good. Again, feels really good to the ego. Feels really good when someone's blowing our shit up and someone's like, you're the best and you're the chosen and you're amazing. It's nice. It is a nice thing, but it's not always your intuition, and it's not always accurate. And so this is where things are going to get harder, because again, there's a lot of things in the psychic sphere that you can't see necessarily. I always ask, number one of my main messages that I ask to my guides, and I know my guides, but when I work with new guides or new energies come in to give me messages, are you giving me a message from the highest source of unconditional love? I ask that, because those beings are not beings of love. Certain entities are not beings of love, and they're not going to lie to you. The tone will change. Again, there'll be a critical tone, or they'll get upset with you, or things will shift a little bit. I also ask my guides to reveal to me an image of what I'm working with or what I'm connecting to. Because if it's not my guides, my angels, which have a very distinct frequency for me, if I'm working with someone else's guides or something else comes through to give a message, I always ask my guides, show me the truth, give me clarity, give me an image that symbolizes what I'm working with. Because you can feel it, not always necessarily. Sometimes it's very subtle. But after a while, you can feel the energy of something that you're working with, that you're connecting to, knowing if it's not for your best and highest good. It'll start to make you uncomfortable. Get that little ting, 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 ting in the pit of your stomach, or you feel energetically drained. You feel tired and exhausted. That's the one thing, like when I work with my guides, when I work with the energy of Jesus, when I work with the energy of like higher vibrational beings, it's an energy of love. It's an energy of peace. It's an energy of joy. If I'm tired, it actually energizes me. If I'm feeling sick, I actually feel completely healthy when I'm in that vibration. If I'm sad, it brings me comfort and peace and love. So I know the difference through my emotions, through what I'm feeling, by what I'm picking up on energetically. And so again, it's just very important as you develop your psychic gifts, as you start to listen to the messages that you're receiving, as you're hearing other messages and filtering them through. Is this for me? Is this of the highest vibration of light? Is this of the highest frequency of love, of unconditional love from source? Is this for my best and highest good? Is this something that's going to be the best and highest good for all? Because that's the one thing too. God's messages, when it's coming from source, when it's coming from your higher self, when it's coming from your guides, especially if it's like to take a certain action or to do something, it's going to be the highest outcome for all. It's not just going to be something that serves you. It's going to be something that serves the whole. God is win, win, win. So if you are guided to do something that takes something from somebody else, that harms someone in any way, that is kind of selfish and kind of shady, and you kind of know it's selfish and shady, but because it's the outcome that you want or something that you want and you decide to do it, that is not a message, an intuitive message from light, from a light source. And so I've talked for about 45 minutes. I'm going to do a part 2 of this video where we're going to talk more about the intuition versus the ego and manifestation, and how to use your intuition for your highest manifestations. But what I want to summarize is the intuition is a living thing. It is timeless. It is fluid. It is loving. Even if it makes you uncomfortable with what you receive, with what you pick up on, with the images or the guidance that you're given, it's always going to be for the win, 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 the highest good for yourself and all involved. But intuition can be infiltrated sometimes by our ego and our own sort of like desires that are not based upon our highest truth. And equally, the intuition can be infiltrated and kind of obstructed through other entities and other energy beings that might want to use you to create an outcome that would not serve your interest or not serve the best and highest good of all. And so, very, very important when you're working with your intuition, as you're developing your intuition, when you're working with other people, because when you're getting a reading, even a video like this, you have to filter it through your own lens, which is the lens of the self, the lens of the personality, your local self, your own thought systems, your own belief systems, your own desires, your own fears, your own traumas. That's all of the self, right? But you're also filtering it through your intuition, which is your non-local self. It is your spirit. It is your guidance. And you need to know what resonates for you and what's for your highest good and what isn't, and truly leave behind what's not meant for you. Because for some of you watching this video, there may be one thing in this video that you needed to hear. For others of you watching this video, you needed to hear more parts of the video just to kind of learn to trust your own self and trust your own discernment. We are entering into an age of spiritual sovereignty, which means you are your inner authority. God is within you. The light is within you. Come into alignment with your light. Come into alignment with your truth. Come into alignment with your authentic self. Come into alignment with your inner voice, which is your inner GPS, your inner God protection system, your intuition, your spiritual gifts. As they are developing, as they are growing, it's just important to know what's yours, because there's things that are yours, but there's a lot of things, thoughts, emotions, even in guidance, intuitive guidance, that is not for you. So this is concluding part 1 of this video. I'm sending you love. Hope everyone has a beautiful and blessed day. Take care.